Hey guys, it's Damien, and guess what? We are just about done with page one of my notes, and I just want to say that, guys, I have been ahead of a lot of things for like 2 or 3 months ahead of things, and I feel really good and confident about the knowledge that I've gained, and more importantly, retained, and perhaps even more importantly than that, been able to share and educate others. But just so you guys know, who are just getting into this stuff, who are just learning about Israel and our relationship with them, and like inflation and history and all this. I mean, if you've been watching my videos, I talk about a lot of dark stuff, like multiple mass murder stuff, systemic raising, stuff with bribery and nuclear weapons, and nefarious stuff with children and terrorist type of stuff. A lot of bad topics. And guys, I've been described as rough around the edges, and those are by people who like me. Okay, so like I'm not a soft person. So when stuff like this shakes me to my core, some of these discoveries that I've made and bring it to light, I know that a lot of other people, they're not going to be able to handle it. It's going to be too much for them, whether it's they have too much going on in their life, or like there's other stresses, or just the stuff that I'm talking about in itself. Mass murderers and like stuff with who runs our government, stuff like that. I know it can be a lot, but the reason why I'm so like in a good mood and like, when I'm making this particular video, is if what this video topic is going to be about is because where we're at right now. So many people are like disturbed and shook as I was months ago. That's good. People are waking up at a record pace. And what I have been saying since the very first video, if you go back and watch the first reel I put on there, my biggest emphasis was on what? Unity. I've been saying multiple videos, from the whitest white person to the blackest black person and every pigment in between, we need to unite. Because the one advantage we have is the only advantage we need, which is numbers. And we have it, but yet we don't have it. We have it technically, but until we unite, we don't have it. We are too divided as a nation, and a lot of that is not even our fault. And more people are waking up to that. The good news is that this stuff that I've been talking about is so dark and so evil. There's no gray area. It's so easy to get people to unite. When I explain what's going on and you can like reference stuff, people are like, "Oh my God, Damien's not lying." Yeah, like Ami Popper, that mass murderer who got sentenced to 7 life sentences and then now is going to be released. Yeah, we can all agree that's bullshit. Like what he did, but like we all agree, we're all going to unite. Anyways, let's go to my next video here. I want to kind of show you guys. Look at this scroll bar, guys. Look at this scroll bar. Look how much stuff we covered. And that's just page one, which we are just about done with. And so to kind of recap things here, we're talking about Alex O'Day and his killers, all that stuff, and then Tom RTM Alexandrovich. I did 2 videos on him because the second one that I did was because of discoveries and connections with the JDL that I had. Now this next stuff here you're going to see, Lebanon, 4 civilians and 1 terrorist, 60 Muslims dead, 5 Israelis dead, and 1 of them being declared the hero first. All right, so what this stuff is, I had one friend that I confided in along my way, like when I was learning this stuff real time. There was like one person I was telling all this stuff to. Shouts out to him. But I can tell that he was kind of, from his point of view, I was getting really tunnel vision on this stuff, which is easy to do. So he was like, "Hey, you should look into the 9/11 stuff. You're doing a really good job investigating this other stuff, but I think you're too focused on this. Focus on 9/11." I was like, "Well, maybe I'll do that." So that's what this stuff is about. But I only got into the 9/11 stuff 2 times. Once right here, and then I was like, you know what? This stuff is starting to make too much sense. Like I feel like this could be a whole big rabbit hole for me to go into. Let me just take a break. And so that was my mindset. After this one, I was like, I'm done. But I wasn't done. I didn't know this, but I wasn't done with the 9/11 topic. But for now, the first thing that I thought of is like, okay, interviews. If there's someone who's dead, first of all, I've got to check the time on this. Where am I at? 4.5 minutes. All right, we're only halfway there. That's good. I got like a 9 minute, 50 seconds before this video just automatically will cut off. I don't know how to fix that. But anyway, So I know because of the history that I've been educating with you guys, the countries that surround Israel, like Israel's enemies, that Israel complains, says to be their enemies, like Lebanon. How many people in Lebanon died in the plane crash? That was four of them and one terrorist, proclaimed terrorist. How convenient that one of the terrorists for 9/11 was one of Israel's enemies. 60 Muslims dead, 5 Israelis dead, and one of the 5 Israelis was a handicapped janitor. I think this is, by the way, this is the deaths of one of the World Trade Centers, one of the ones that dropped, by the way. This is these stats I'm talking about now. Oh no, these are all the combined nationality deaths that are researched. So the Israeli deaths, 5 of them. One of them was like a handicapped maintenance worker, and another one was considered a hero who tried to stop the hijackers. More on him in a minute. But by the way, he happened to be seated with the hijackers. I think like one row away, or maybe one seat away from the other hijackers. All right. So when I researched the Israeli victim names and searched for grieving mother, father, sister, brother, relative, I get no results for those people, including the hero. When I searched for a Muslim victim name, the first name I researched with grieving relative, an article came up with the victim's mother in another article. So once that happened to me, so to recap, the way my mind works is like, okay, people who were actually involved in the plane crash, like the guy being considered a hero, you would expect to see interviews of like his mom, dad, wife or whatnot. The only video interviews I could see of people talking about him were like with work colleagues. I thought that was very strange, especially for someone considered the hero. When I started researching, what about like just random Muslim death, I easily found relatives talking about them. And so like right then and there, I was like, you know what, like that's already starting to make too much sense, and I don't want to get too involved in that. And so that was it. That's where my research ended. So basically, the last part you will see on my notes here, page 1, you will see Israel-U.S. extradition treaty exceptions, Israel-U.S. extradition treaty exceptions for Israel. Citizenship, Israel citizens are generally not extradited, though they, and I don't know why my notes cut off there, but I can tell you off of memory what I learned on that about all the examples about like Alex Ode murder, how only one of those guys was extradited, and that's because he was known to have a string of bombings in the 70s and 80s, plus another murder, Patricia Wilkerson, and I'm talking about Robert Manning. Israel said, we will only extradite Robert Manning if we promise not to charge him for Alex Ode and not to give him the death penalty if he's found guilty for the death of Patricia Wilkerson. Well, he was found guilty for the death of Patricia Wilkerson. He was sentenced to life in prison. However, 3 years ago, under Biden's administration, he got paroled and he's a free man. The other extradition that I was hoping would happen for Tom Artyom Alexandrovich did not happen. So that's when I started researching. I was like, why is it so difficult for Israel, the country we give billions and billions of our tax dollars to? Why can't we get people who do crimes in our country? Why can't we have them ship them to us? That was really strange to me. When you look into that, Israel has like this special circumstance clause, which is like very general, which is basically puts all the power into Israel's hands, meaning like if they deem it under their guidelines not to extradite someone, that's going to supersede anything with us. Even though we give them our money, that's how it is. Like there's so many red flags, and everything you research, it's just like none of it makes sense. So that's what drove me to keep on researching and learning more and more until it made sense. And it made sense in the worst way. And that's what changed me, like on all my habits. This is why my life's focus has been on like opening eyes to like how bad this stuff is. But guys, the gold, like the light that I see, that light at the end of the tunnel is like that. That's like, it's like riches beyond our imaginations. That's like illuminating that light. Like once we get rid of this evil, we will experience riches in a life and freedom that we have never had in our lifetime. For at least 3 generations, we have been slaves. But I think perhaps in my lifetime, I might be able to see it where we're